Breaking news out of the NBA, and this one is bigger than it looks. According to insiders, the Cleveland Cavaliers are reportedly positioning themselves to trade for Bronny James, but only the moment his father, LeBron James, officially signs with the team. And yes, the headline centers on Bronny, but here's the thing, this move was never really about Bronny at all. The moment this report surfaced, every front office, every analyst, every insider around the league immediately understood what Cleveland was actually doing. Because on the surface, this looks like a minor procedural detail. A young, developing guard potentially changing teams, no stars directly involved in that specific transaction, nothing that would normally stop the basketball world in its tracks. But that surface reading is exactly what makes this so fascinating, because underneath it, something much bigger is unfolding. The Cavaliers haven't made any of this official. They don't need to, because everyone paying close attention already understands the play. Cleveland has reportedly been holding open roster spots and delaying other free agency moves, all while carefully positioning itself for a much larger chess move that's been quietly built behind the scenes for weeks. And once you understand why Bronny specifically factors into Cleveland's plans and what this signals about the broader picture around LeBron James's free agency, the entire strategy starts to make sense. So let's break it down from the beginning, starting with who Bronny James actually is, where his career has taken him so far, and how he ended up sitting at the center of one of the most calculated roster strategies of this NBA offseason.
The Cavs are willing to acquire Bronny James in order to lure LeBron back to Cleveland.
Bronny James grew up under the brightest spotlight in basketball before he ever played a single high school game. As the son of LeBron James, widely regarded as the greatest player of his generation, a certain level of scrutiny was always guaranteed, but it became clear early on that Bronny wasn't simply riding his father's fame. He could genuinely play. He spent his high school years at Sierra Canyon School in Chatsworth, California, one of the most closely watched prep programs in the country, developing alongside future NBA talent and drawing steady attention from college recruiters. He wasn't a five-star recruit generating the kind of once-in-a-generation hype his father did as a teenager on the cover of Sports Illustrated, but he was a legitimate Division I prospect with real tools. Coaches who watched him consistently pointed to his defensive instincts, his basketball IQ, and a feel for the game that reflected a lifetime spent around professional basketball. He read spacing and positioning at a level well beyond most players his age. Then came the summer of 2023, and everything paused. During a team workout at USC, where he'd committed to play college basketball, Bronny suffered a cardiac arrest and collapsed on the court. Medical staff were able to resuscitate him, and for weeks afterward, the conversation around him had nothing to do with basketball. It was about whether he'd be okay and whether his future in the sport was even still possible. He recovered. He came back. He played his freshman season at USC in 2023-24, working through both the physical and emotional weight of what he'd survived. And he still showed enough for NBA scouts to believe his professional dream remained alive. Modest statistical numbers, but visible tools, real defensive awareness, and a level of composure under pressure that carried new meaning given what he'd been through. In June 2024, the Los Angeles Lakers selected Bronny James with the 55th overall pick in the second round of the NBA draft, making the James family the first father and son to ever play in the NBA at the same time. That moment wasn't just a feel-good story. It was the fulfillment of something LeBron had spoken about publicly for years. Long before Bronny was drafted, LeBron had made clear that sharing an NBA court with his son before retiring was one of his most personal goals. He said it in interviews, in press conferences, and casual asides that made their way into the press. Back in 2022, he told reporters directly that playing alongside Bronny was something he wanted before walking away from the game. Statements like that tend to get noticed around the league, and front offices took it seriously, because LeBron's stated priorities have historically shaped major decisions. Understanding LeBron's own situation is essential to understanding what's unfolding in Cleveland right now. Heading into the 2025-26 season, LeBron was already operating in unprecedented territory. Having turned 40 during the season, he became the first player in NBA history to compete professionally into a 24th season. For context, Michael Jordan retired for good after his 15th season. Kobe Bryant played 20 seasons, and his final two were largely a farewell tour as his body broke down. LeBron kept producing at an elite level well past both of them.
But that same 2025-26 season also brought the growing reality that his run with the Lakers was ending. His tenure in Los Angeles spanned 8 seasons, multiple roster overhauls, a championship in the Orlando bubble in 2020, and years of playoff disappointment that left the organization searching for direction. As LeBron entered free agency, the question wasn't whether he still had anything left, it was where he'd choose to spend the final stretch of one of the most consequential careers in sports history. And that question pointed almost immediately toward one place, Cleveland, Ohio, the city where LeBron was born, raised, and first became a basketball legend. The Cavaliers drafted him first overall back in 2003 when he was just 18, and arriving as the most hyped prospect since the NBA's modern era began tracking such things. He spent his first 7 seasons there, carrying rosters that often lacked real supporting talent to improbable heights, including a 2007 finals run against a dominant Spurs team. Then came the decision in 2010, the move to Miami, back-to-back championships with Wade and Bosh, and then in 2014, one of the most talked-about moments in sports history, LeBron announcing he was returning home to Cleveland. He came back with a promise to end the city's 50-plus-year championship drought. In June 2016, down 3 games to 1 against a historically dominant 73-win Warriors team, he delivered, capped by the chase-down block on Andre Iguodala that's been replayed countless times since. That championship meant everything, both to the city and to LeBron personally, defining his legacy in a way no other title quite has. Which is exactly why the moment LeBron entered free agency again, conversation around a Cleveland return ignited almost instantly. Reporters close to his camp noted that Cleveland carried an emotional weight no other franchise could match. Miami had been business, Los Angeles had been platform, Cleveland was home. And multiple people close to LeBron indicated that as this stage of his career arrived, family and legacy had risen above financial considerations in shaping his decision. This is precisely where the reported Bron scenario shifts from a routine roster detail into something far more calculated. Look at it from Cleveland's perspective. The Cavaliers have built a legitimately competitive roster around Donovan Mitchell, one of the league's premier scoring guards, with solid complementary pieces. But a strong foundation and a genuine championship-caliber roster are 2 different things, and what stood between Cleveland and a real title window was a transcendent talent capable of elevating the whole operation. Enter LeBron James. But here's the challenge. How do you recruit a 40-year-old legend in the twilight of his career when money is secondary and emotion is primary? You don't just offer a max contract and a starting role. According to multiple NBA insiders, including reporting from outlets like ESPN and The Athletic, Cleveland has reportedly been exploring exactly this idea for months, positioning itself to acquire Bronny specifically as leverage in recruiting his father. The logic is straightforward. LeBron has repeatedly and publicly said that playing alongside his son is a top personal priority. If Cleveland can bring Bronny into the fold, they're not simply adding a developing young guard, they're offering LeBron something no other franchise realistically can, a chance to finish his career playing beside his son, in the city that shaped his legend.
Los Angeles, for its part, faces real structural challenges in trying to retain both LeBron and Bronny together. Salary flexibility, roster construction, and front office direction have all made that outcome increasingly difficult as the offseason has unfolded. Reports suggest Cleveland's front office has spent much of the summer deliberately preserving roster and cap flexibility rather than rushing to fill spots through free agency, positioning itself for exactly this kind of move if the opportunity arose. On paper, acquiring Bronny would mean adding a second-round pick still developing his offensive game. In practice, insiders describe him as potentially the most valuable recruiting chip available in the league right now, and the Lakers' apparent willingness to explore moving him is itself telling. While LeBron remained in Los Angeles, Bronny's value to the organization extended well beyond his on-court production. His presence helped keep LeBron invested in the franchise's future. But with LeBron's departure increasingly likely, that equation changes. Once those secondary benefits disappear, moving Bronny for assets that could support a rebuild becomes a much more straightforward organizational decision, even if it's a complicated one given what the James family has meant to the franchise. None of this is likely coincidental. Rich Paul, LeBron's longtime agent and founder of Clutch Sports Group, represents both LeBron and Bronny, and his ability to steer situations toward his clients' long-term interests is well known across the league. Whether or not Paul is directly orchestrating a path for Bronny to land in Cleveland, the pattern being described by insiders looks like a deliberate setup rather than a random outcome of market forces. And Cleveland's roster offers real basketball merit for Bronny, independent of any family storyline. The organization has invested heavily in player development, with a coaching staff known for accelerating young talent. For a player with Bronny's profile, strong defensive instincts, high IQ, still developing offensively, that environment offers minutes, mentorship, and patience without the pressure of being a primary offensive option. And if LeBron does join him there, Bronny would have arguably the greatest basketball mind alive as a teammate and mentor. From LeBron's side, the emotional pull is hard to overstate. Here's a man who has given decades to the pursuit of basketball excellence. 4 championships, 4 MVPs, and a statistical resume that may never be matched. And by all accounts, what he wants most at this stage isn't another accolade or another massive contract. It's the chance to share an NBA court with his son. People close to him have consistently said family now sits at the center of his decision-making. If Cleveland can credibly offer that reunion in the city most emotionally tied to his story, it's an extraordinarily powerful pitch. The business implications, if this all comes together, would be significant. Cleveland already plays in one of the league's smaller markets, but LeBron has historically transformed market size into a non-issue wherever he's played, filling arenas, driving ratings, and generating sponsorship interest far beyond what the market alone would produce. His 2014 return sparked one of the biggest single-day jersey sales moments in league history. A potential reunion with his son on that same roster would likely draw a comparable, if not larger, wave of national attention, ticket demand, and media coverage, the kind no marketing budget could replicate. On the court, LeBron remains a meaningful contributor when healthy and managed carefully. Paired with Cleveland's existing core led by Donovan Mitchell, even a reduced role for LeBron could meaningfully raise the team's ceiling, giving the Cavaliers a legitimate championship window in what would likely be the final chapter of his career.
There's also a broader debate happening around moves like this. Whether acquiring a player primarily to help recruit a superstar reflects smart roster building or something closer to manipulating competitive balance. Some analysts argue it distorts how teams should be constructed. Others point out this is simply how the NBA has always operated at the highest levels. Kevin Durant's move to Brooklyn was shaped in part by his friendship with Kyrie Irving. Chris Bosh joined Miami specifically to play with LeBron and Wade. Personal relationships have always factored into star player decisions. What makes this situation different is simply the scale and visibility of the relationship involved, because in this case, the connection being leveraged is a father and his son. And the historical stakes here are real. No father and son have ever shared an NBA roster during the father's active career. LeBron and Bronny doing so with the Lakers in 2024 was already historic. If Cleveland successfully brings them together again, it would mark something that has never happened before in the history of major American professional team sports. A genuinely singular moment, not a footnote. So step back and look at the fuller picture here. If this scenario plays out as insiders describe, Cleveland wouldn't simply be adding a developing young guard with a famous last name. they'd be assembling what may be the most emotionally powerful recruiting tool in modern NBA free agency, the chance to offer the greatest player of his generation as he approaches retirement something no amount of money or any other city can match: his son, his hometown, and a legitimate shot at one more championship in the city he once promised he'd deliver one to. The headlines may eventually read that Bronny James was traded to Cleveland, but if that happens, the real story won't be the trade itself, it'll be the message behind it. A quiet, calculated pitch built without a single press conference, aimed squarely at one man. Come home, LeBron. Your son is already here. Right now, this remains a reported plan, not a finalized outcome. The Cavaliers appear to be positioning themselves, but LeBron's actual decision is still pending. Every front office, every analyst, and every fan paying attention is watching closely, because how this resolves could determine whether it goes down as a clever piece of roster construction or the opening domino in one of the most talked about free agency decisions in NBA history.